It's Spoilerin time, folks. This is the show where we take the hard work of cord killers figuring out how to watch things, where to watch things, and then we watch them and talk about them. This week, we will be talking about Miami Vice Season 3, Episode 19, Red Tape, with a short appearance from Viggo Mortensen and Lou Diamond Phillips. Also, Season 2, Episode 2 of The White Lotus, and Season 1, Episode 1 of 2521. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, and most importantly, if you guys followed last week, you know that I committed to watching both Season 2 of The White Lotus and Season 1 of The White Lotus. We'll report on both of those in the moment, but for right now, what are we starting with, Tom?
Well, let's start with 2521, which was my pick for something for us to try this week. And it is a Korean drama. It is the drama, I think, over the course of the show is one of the most complex and interesting stories. But I took a little of a gamble by saying just watch the first episode and see how it goes. Brian, how'd it go?
Well, you took a second gamble. I'm going to start with the down part so we can end on a high point. You also gambled by saying that both of my daughters should watch this. One of them being 9 years old. She'll turn 10 in a month. Boy, oh boy, did she not approve of all the fighting and the disobedience of parents and the sneaking around trying to get kicked out of her own school. She, like, at some point, as she's sitting there playing Animal Jam on her iPad, she's like, I don't approve of any of this. This is terrible. This is bad. I don't like this, Dad. And I'm like, you could leave. And she's like, However, my 14-year-old, I think, was more into the nuanced position of somebody who had dreams and ambitions, trying to get ahead. But she hated it for this reason. She was trying to figure out how old everyone was, and the only information we got on episode 1 is that this is a 22-year-old who is making friends with a minor, an 18-year-old, which is only revealed if you watch the coming up on next episode thing. Boy, oh boy, did she not like it when I suggested my thesis. And I'm going to look at your face when I say this. I think you lied to me by saying 2521 was a fencing score. I think 2521 are the ages that they are when they get married.
I think that's what he told us. He told us, I think that's specifically what he told us.
2521 are the ages of them at the end of the story.
Okay. All right. Well, yep.
Is there a checkmate in fencing?
No, I don't know. I guess I mislogged your response. But once I said that to Josie, who is 14, about to turn 15 in 2 days, boy, oh boy, did she read all of that as grooming or something, where it's like, this is a 22-year-old adult who's making friends with a minor at the age of 18, and adults, we have a different perspective from kids. Anyway, here's what I suspect. I think both of them will continue to watch with me. I would like to continue to watch these. I think there were parts that were very, very good. What I was not prepared for was how anime-like the over-the-top physical comedy was. And
I can see that, because it is based on a webtoon.
Right. Now my palate is set correctly, so I can enjoy it. I think I did myself a terrible disservice by doing the dub, and I think I want to enjoy the rest of it just as a sub.
Did you not like the dub, or did you not like the dub?
No, it was pretty good, but I think this is. I suspect that the performances of the original actors were superior to the voices that I heard. No offense to, if any of the people who worked on this project.
Sure. I've only sampled the dub. I haven't listened to the entire episode, but one thing I did notice is that the dub is very American. The dub is how Korean Americans maybe but it's got a very Hollywood sensibility, whereas the Korean acting is a little louder, and it's a little more natural of what you're seeing from the characters. And I think some of that just comes from the fact that it's dubs versus the actual characters talking.
Well, and one last point before I turn it over to Bryce. I had you can't totally divorce your experience of the art from the art itself. And part of my experience of the art was you suggesting it, you suggesting my kids be there, which meant, as we all gathered, I was managing kids and, Bonnie and
Sure.
schedules
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so on. Also, I made the choice of dubs plus closed captioning subs and whatever. And then one other thing that colored my experience was that Bryce appeared to be very deeply affected with this. So I went into it expecting, I don't know what I expected, but what I ended up having was a very sweet, fun, light show that it was sweeter and lighter than I had expected. And I don't know how much of that is the dubs or the family managing
Sure.
or the expectations being too high going in, but it's definitely good. But it didn't hit me profoundly in a way that I had expected.
And it won't. It's a story told over all the episodes, and if you're looking at it right now as a sweet, kind of lighthearted and fun story, that's right. That to me is where you should be in order to fully enjoy where they're going to go with the story. Now, I know what you're saying about Bryce, who was using some crying emojis about this. Bryce, what did you think?
Well, I also had low expectations for this. I don't watch a lot of the TV drama stuff. Just it's not really my scene. But I was apprehensive going into it, and if I really, especially it was at the scene that didn't make me tear up a little bit was when she our main character is talking to her mother and about like, hey, I know I mean it, I really want your help with fencing,
Which by the way was super bold. That scene made me happy. Like I said out loud in front of the family, because I think she was being confronted about going out to a dance club because she's trying to get kicked out of her school or whatever. And I blurted out, I was like, own it, just tell her. And sure enough, that's exactly what she did. And I really enjoyed that.
And then the mother didn't even believe her. Probably didn't believe her by the end of the episode still. It was really good. Like, I really appreciated that this episode, for being as long as a movie, is about a movie's story.
It's a little over an hour.
And
also, you have to stick around through the credits because there's a post-credits scene. And
was there I know there.
There's a coming next episode.
Yeah, the preview.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated that her plan, this plan to get kicked out of school and transferred to another school. I really appreciate that someone said, "What the hell are you talking? No, that's not how that's going to work at all." I appreciated that we were allowed to indulge her in the idea, and then very abruptly say, "You need a reality check." I thought that was great. I thought they had the male and the female lead had a lot of good chemistry. It won me over by the end.
So that's interesting because what you sounds like didn't really land with you is like, the silly girl, you can't do it like that. What I took is sort of that Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, sand the floor, paint the fence, like in being given the advice of, I don't know, figure out a way to transfer. And she figures out, I'm going to get kicked out of school. And along with that comes, she intentionally finds herself in a rumble of schoolgirls. And then out of her comes this, need to use a umbrella to fence the crap out of what appears to be a badass kung fu guy. And then later, it gives her the courage to go into a place that she doesn't belong and act and stand up to bullies as they threaten to. She's like, no, good, please arrest me. That's what I would like. That would be the best possible thing. And it's like, oh, I get it. These are all the lessons. And then we get to the end scene. I did enjoy, and please tell me I read this correctly. I did enjoy that super awesome fencing coach gives her a series of tasks. And then when there was a brief white flash, what I assume that was indicating is before the girl even showed up, her mom showed up and with some kind of previous relationship said, let my kid into your school. And she's like, okay, fine. And then all of that was for show, but she still got free shoes out of it. And
Yes,
I
exactly.
loved all of that.
Yeah. Nope. You read that. You read that perfectly right. That coach is totally cutthroat and mercenary, and took her shoes, and didn't need to.
So in the gap, you asked Tom whether or not we would keep on going with this. And I think the answer is I could definitely commit to a second episode. And what I'll report is whether or not my wife, my youngest, or my middle kid is able to join us, because Bonnie is very, very busy. She's coming up on a big art show. So
Sure,
I don't
okay.
know how much, like she only saw half of it. Callie didn't like the fighting and the violence.
Okay.
Josie
Yeah.
really erupted when she figured out that, wait, is that like there's this brief moment where there's a negotiation, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if they end up together. I think he may be like an older brother character trying to help, but then I, either remembered or figured out the 25-21 thing, and then boy, ooh, Josie didn't like that. So I'll see. I will report back whether or not I either watch it alone or with the rest of the family.
What I would say to Callie is all the episodes won't be like that. Definitely give it a second chance, because this is not a fighting story. Except for within the fencing, when they're doing proper fencing, which you never see in the first episode. You will see her limit that to the fencing world mostly. So that won't be a big deal in the second episode. What I'd say to Josie is like, yes, that is the appropriate question to be asking, but don't answer it. Watch. Because that question of whether that's appropriate is central to the story they're telling. And the thing I loved about this, and the reason I recommended it, and the thing that makes me happiest in your reaction, is this show continually subverted my expectations. Every time I thought, oh, well, what they're going to do is this, it didn't. Every time I thought, well, what she really ought to do is just tell her mom what she thinks, she did. And so you've recognized that a little bit in the first episode, and I think it keeps doing that. And I'm curious to see if you continue to enjoy that, because the story is not going to go where you think it's going to go, or where you think it would be expected to go.
At this point, we could definitely commit to Brian Brushwood will watch this and we'll discuss it next week. Whether or not he's able to talk everyone else into along the ride, we'll find out.
Yeah. And you may or may not with the kids, but I would tell Josie, like, don't judge it yet. Like you're not wrong to wonder about that, but maybe give it a chance to explain itself first. The story.
Bryce, tell us more about your journey with this.
Well, just one last sort of straight thought that I had was, it was interesting to remember that they throw it very quickly, I'm pretty sure. But when in the modern day, when the daughter is going through all of the diary and stuff, setting up the framing device, I am pretty sure, and I watched on with the subtitles, that they referred to the lead male as her ex-boyfriend. So I think that was a very small, interesting clue that will lead us to some heartbreak coming up.
Who referred to that?
I think it was the daughter who had found the diary. I think
the daughter assumed something.
Okay, yeah. I'm saying that there's a mystery here, Tom, unless there's not. But
No. I'm saying you did not hear solid fact mom say that. You heard the daughter say that. So
Yeah, but I think it's also yes. It's just
it did,
it didn't feel like out of nowhere. I feel like a daughter might know that a mother had had a former boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend by term.
It did take a little bit of figuring out, watching the beginning in current time, and then we're jumping to the past. Then we jump farther to the past, and a little bit. I don't know if I'm supposed to recognize different school uniforms from different schools,
No, you're not.
like basically, I was thrilled that I could say she has slightly reddish hair. He has a close cropped, ear length hair, and so on. And of
There's
course,
only two
the
time
names are
periods.
just culturally difficult for me to hold on to.
Sure. That's different too. Yeah. No, there's only two time periods. There's the present where they're talking about COVID, like mom can't go in because COVID. And then there's the past, which is the 90s.
But it does flash
except it
around a little
flashes
bit in that first episode.
back in the
Where
past.
did it flash to?
So we go back to 1998, and then we find out
Yeah.
that rich kid washed out of college, and we flash back again to 1994, before 1998, when he's at college listening to rock music.
Yeah, it's like
being a cool guy.
60
that's right.
seconds
I forgot about
of-
that little quick.
Also,
okay, you're
I'm
right,
so
you're right,
glad
yeah,
that you
okay.
reminded me that this was shot during COVID, because whoo boy, was that a big nightclub, and were there very few people in that nightclub that she got into.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it was so empty, because they let kids in.
That's why they suddenly grabbed her.
I took that more as like, it's just she went to an unpopular nightclub. That's like not even the place to go. Like she doesn't know where the hot spots are.
Question that I didn't have an answer to anybody who asked it. Why did a steward or guard or bouncer or whatever grab her and throw her into a karaoke lounge?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, good.
That one was
Because
strange.
that's the answer I gave my
Yeah.
kids. I was
What-
like,
what
I don't
I do-
understand what
what I-
that part was.
What I do know is that there are places in lots of places, not just in Korea, in lots of parts of the world, where there are folks who hang around in order to get free drinks, and it's kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod, understood. Like, oh, you want to be brought in? Somebody's looking for companionship. It's not totally like prostitution, but it's like ladies' night kind of situation. And I'm guessing that this is one of those kinds of clubs where they'll be like, hey, you're looking for that, right? Okay, cool. We'll take you to the room.
Would it be an outrageous metaphor for me to compare it to when you go to a theme park and you get in this single rider line, where it's like, I don't really care who I'm with. I just want to.
Song has it. Thank you, Song. The term is a hostess karaoke bar.
Okay.
So you have a hostess who's
you would pay someone to be your friend that evening and do
basically.
karaoke with you. Be flirty. End of transaction.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
and so that guy was jumping to the conclusion that Naido was
available to host.
Be a hostess. Yeah.
Got it. Boy, really weird. 9-year-old, 14-year-old, my wife, like all the drinking and stuff. And, I understand the motivations of a 22-year-old with a minor girl trying to protect her by taking the bullet of downing all the whiskey or whatever. But I'm like, I was not prepared for this explanation to all of my kids.
Yeah. And that's another one where it's like the show is not that seedy. It's that I'd forgotten like just how seedy that scene is when he grabs her. I'm like, oh right, I forgot all about that.
Quick shout out to Common Sense Media. From what I've heard, does a lot of things I don't approve of, but one thing I absolutely approve of is commonsensemedia.org is a very, very good resource. If you have kids, they have 2 ratings for things, and they're not rating for quality of content, they're rating for appropriateness. And so they have what age parents believe that kids should be in their rating. And then they also have kids rate what age you should be to watch things. And so this one ended up being like 13. So I felt okay with my 9-year-old on that front.
All right. But you're willing to watch another one. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because I really do feel like this show only gets better the more you watch it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to more than 5 characters in the show.
It's a limited character, but yes, you're going to get more than just the folks. They really spend some time making sure you get to know these characters who are the most important characters before they start introducing you to others, other than the fencing star that you sort of see her. You don't really get to know her, but she'll be more important going on too. The one she throws the umbrella to.
Right. She seems important in a. I mean, I previous to you saying that, I could have pictured her either being somebody who becomes a friend or being just an object of inspiration and worship in either way. But it sounds like we're more of the latter than the former.
I also love. I also forgot and loved that she tries to pass off her own drawings as acceptable replacements for the torn up.
Adorable. And then when she gets busted and she starts crying and she starts mumbling, I'm like, what is? And then just as I'm thinking it, we see the subtitles where older boyfriend guy is just like, I don't understand what you're saying. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. All right. That is 2521 on Netflix, season 1, episode 1. Let's talk about the White Lotus, season 2, episode 2. Really kind of a slow burn here. We didn't get any progress on the mystery, so to speak. But we learn more about every little character. And I think the most development probably comes from Tanya and her relationship, or not, with her husband, and Harper, Aubrey Plaza's character, who sort of has a turnaround perhaps on what she's thinking of the rich couple.
Before we dive in, let me tell you the parallels that I noticed to episode 2 of season 1, which I also watched, right? Episode 2, season 1 ends with the most significant parallel that I saw was the kid who loves playing video games and being lost in his social media and the whatnots gets kicked out of the main room by his jerk big sister or whatever, says, I'll go sleep on the beach. It's unclear whether or not he ever goes to bed on the beach or not, but he certainly is there at sunrise alone without any electronics as he sees, whales flopping around and breaching and all that stuff. It's a very special moment. It's a significant break on his part. That happens at the end of season 2, episode 1. At the beginning of episode 2 of season 2, we see, I should learn everybody's names. Aubrey Plaza's husband getting up early, sneaking out, going running. And there's a very similar scene where he gets up and he runs and he finds himself, out of breath. And there's just this majestic panorama of understanding like the history, the cultural heritage of everything. So that's the only strong parallel I saw between the two. That and the other parallel would be person running the White Lotus breaks from who they were at the beginning. I don't know about breaks. In episode 2 of season 1, the guy running everything, they establish at the beginning that he's getting sober and not drinking, and then like 5 minutes later he just starts doing all the drugs. In this case, the person running the White Lotus is defeated by like, I'm going to draw a line, no prostitutes in here, and then
which is interesting because Christopher Moltisanti, whatever his name is, his argument with the manager is basically, hey, I'm paying you a lot of money to let me have a room where I can have high price prostitutes show up
to have a good time.
Yeah, this is what
local friends.
Yeah,
right. it's very interesting that he ends with like, this is your duty. Like, I don't know what words you need me to say, but I need you to do this, period. Which was interesting, kind of putting her in her place. Man, there's, I don't know. I thought this was a good episode. I liked seeing Tanya kind of live out her dream, the dream she just came up with on a whim.
Yeah.
Is Greg's really cheating on her, huh?
I mean,
that's pretty clear come the end.
it feels like it can't be anything else by the end, but I keep feeling that's too obvious, because what I don't understand is why he would bother to go to all that trouble, to go all the way to Italy, to rent the Vespa,
just to leave
in order to just go back to Denver to cheat on her. It seems very elaborate.
Okay, that had never even occurred to me, which means that it probably merits a lot of examination. Is there anything he said at the end that would be inappropriate for a familial thing, like a sibling?
He says, she doesn't suspect anything. I love you.
That could be like a birthday surprise.
A daughter that she doesn't know
daughter,
about from a previous marriage.
Or a adoptive daughter.
Oh, what have you done to me? You got me suspicious, and of course that's got to be something other.
Tom, I don't know if you had this feeling having also seen season 1 in its entirety, but I really enjoyed watching this episode with almost this sort of like Arrested Development season 4 vision of like, there's a motive. There's a motive. There's a motive. There's a motive.
Yeah. For sure.
That was really great. And that was one of the things I feel like in season 1, Brian, as you're experiencing it, was more of a slow onset of like, oh, this isn't just like weird social interactions. We are laying the groundwork for something.
Somebody kills somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And
don't forget, someone's dead.
That's the other thing in episode 2 of season 1, is you start to see more of that, even I think more high intensity, right? The anger, right? You've got the girls who have lost their drugs, the bag of the drugs,
right?
The father who is having a second existential crisis after finding out his father was secretly gay,
right?
All of the newlywed stuff going on, like that all had a much darker tone than we are here in season 2 so far.
Although there's a couple of moments that season 2, episode 2 really sung for me, literally at one point. Like I didn't love the preamble to one of the girlfriend sisters walking up to the guy at the piano and saying, "I'm not a prostitute." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I was there for the first episode. Why are you saying this?" And then she got down behind the piano. I was like, "Well, if you're going to take 10 whole seconds to set this up, you better be pretty good." And then it's like, wow, was that a fine performance and fine singing and breathtaking everything. It was
good
great.
casting.
Yeah,
for sure. And yeah, so there's motive, right? That those two could become entangled and have a falling out because there's already that misunderstanding and a career path situation. There's Dominic who's trying to hide that relationship with Lucia for sure. There's Valentina who doesn't really like those two being there. The one that's intriguing me the most is Harper and the situation where Harper keeps trying to tell Ethan, "Oh, they're horrible, they're bad. I bet they're like this." And they seem perfectly well adjusted. After this episode, I'm willing to believe that when Rich Guy changed his pants in front of her, that it was an accident, that he's just unaware. He just didn't think about
that
it.
Scene.
And it was not him putting a move. And even when he comes out into the ocean to say like, "I really want you to like me," it's certainly comes off as like, "I want you to like me," but could also just be like simple, like, I'm a friend of Ethan's and I really want his wife to like me and I'm feeling insecure about it. I don't know. I'm confused, which is good.
That moment where they had Aubrey Plaza and her husband, chatting for like an extended like 2 minutes about like, hey man, we're not bad people because we argue or whatever. It's not like they're any different. They're definitely not just in that much love. The two scenes is, first of all, the juxtaposition of cutting to they're going shopping and clearly in love, having a great time. And then you think, oh, this must be all surface level. They can't really be that in love. And instead, and that's juxtaposed with the breakfast scene where he very seriously expresses, no, I came in and they'd split her open and her guts were all hanging out and they were fishing around for a baby like it was something lost in her bag. And then, there's a sincerity to it that I want to believe in. And, who knows? It's a show designed to engage all of our interest. But I love the suspicion that we feel as an audience being reflected through Aubrey Plaza, and the fact that that so far she's batting zero. Like, it just seems like that's a fun couple who has won at life and knows they won at life and is just having a good time.
Yeah, and all the criticisms she's levying at them are more appropriately levied at her and Ethan than they are at Daphne and Quentin.
Yeah, that's a lot to untangle in that relationship.
And I like that almost throwaway thing where Harper's like, wait, are you just coming to this vacation with them to rub it in his face?
And she's almost happy about it, or seems to be in that
and
brief
Ethan's
moment.
sort of like, no.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've got F. Murray Abraham and his family. I like that he's been very, very direct with his son, saying this undoes my first theory that he was all bluff and bluster. In fact, it's the reverse, which is Murray Abraham's like, you think I didn't cheat? Whatever, you were sloppy. Clean it up. And I also like that the son says in what might as well have been Greek to these Italians when they're proposing to come into his hotel room. He says, I'm wrestling with a lot of sexual addiction and there's a lot to unpack or whatever. And they're like, whatever. Would you like two girls to get naked in a hot tub with you? He's like, well, I guess so.
You guys are making it really hard. This sexually addicted guy over here.
Bend my arm, why don't you? I like it.
Yeah. I know you're trying to quit heroin, but what about I already melted it in the spoon for you. Come on.
Do we think there's a chance of the singer girl actually becoming romantically entwined with the other, with the singing guy? The one that she threw the drink in the face of?
I think that's a potential. It's a potentiality, certainly. Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with her character yet.
At all.
It's a
little bit,
why is she best buds with the prostitute? And why does she love just hanging out?
Yeah, because that's the thing is she's just maybe it's a cultural thing, but she's just hanging out while her friend is hooking, and seems a little more blasé than to just say I'm actually just watching. Like I don't quite get their dynamic. But I
don't do the drugs, but I really enjoy hanging around with my friend who does.
I mean, I suspect
Always
that's
ends with the
literally
person
how
becoming an
people
addict.
fall into that line of work, is they just are interested in hanging around
I'm just interested in I want her to take the risks, but I want the rush of being around it while she does.
Yeah.
The other difference that I'd say between season 1 and season 2 in this, especially in this episode, is that we are leaving the resort. Like we are seeing around the resort. We're seeing the town.
We're bumping into each other at random restaurants.
And we have two primary characters with the Italian gals here, who are not guests but are prominent members of the cast. There are like non-guests.
They're guests now. They have keys.
Oh, you know what? That's true. They are guests. That is true. I take that back.
I don't know how many people under the age of 25 listen to our show, but if they exist, is that a thing you all do now? Is you say, I would like to kiss you. Okay, you may kiss me. And then you kiss. Is that a thing?
Was that what the son was doing with the?
What's what Albie
Yeah.
and Portia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a really interesting storyline there. They're really trying to do. They're trying to flip the coin on this, right? Like she has said she's looking for carnal delights,
And
he's
he
trying
said,
to be very.
I love wounded birds who are attractive.
Yeah.
Anyway, may I kiss you?
Which is so interesting because she is very close to the other two men of that family who also have different perspectives on sex. I don't know.
Also, Albie, the son, twice now, once the mom on the phone, like, Albie's not mad. Yes, he is. He's just not telling you. And to Portia, are you mad? Yes, I am. But he never looks mad. And to me, that's a ticking time bomb.
Interesting.
Because
They very clearly said twice to the audience, Albie's mad about what his dad has done. But he's like, but I'm the peacemaker.
Yeah. Ooh. Because we don't know exactly what the dad did. We know the dad did something pretty bad. We know he did something pretty bad.
I'm guessing,
according to Grandpa, his crime wasn't doing something bad. It was being sloppy about it.
It was being sloppy. And the daughter, who we've never met, is the one who won't speak to him. Like, did he fool around with one of his daughter's friends?
Ooh, that tracks.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the worst part about our show is now I have thoughts.
Well, thoughts are, it's okay to have thoughts. Thoughts are free.
Yeah, thoughts corrupt my viewing experience. No, it's fine.
How dare we spoil your future viewing experience? It is called Spoilerin time, for goodness sake. All right, that's The White Lotus, Season 2, Episode 2. Let's finish off with Miami Vice, Season 3, Episode 19, Red Tape. Viggo Mortensen and Lou Diamond Phillips are the guest stars. Although we had another guest show up there. What's her face? And I should have pulled up this page before I decided to try to call her name from memory.
Face? Let's get to the bottom of this one.
I think you're thinking of Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
No, I said Lou Diamond Phillips.
Oh.
Lou Diamond Phillips, Viggo Mortensen, and Lou Diamond Phillips.
Annette Bening. Annette Bening shows up as well.
Oh my God. I did not recognize Annette Bening.
She's Vicky. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Second episode in a row that we've watched, and we're not doing them chronologically, so there's some kind of
so we
spacing
skipped
out.
some stuff. Yeah.
This is another very Tubbs-centric show. This one was so much better than the High Noon one.
Oh, yeah.
This was way, way better, specifically because he was so flying off the handle. And tell me if I missed this, but they did not do the cheesy thing where they went out of their way to spell it out for us.
Right.
That he was undercover the entire time.
They just
But
made you
instead-
think he was acting uncharacteristically mad.
And then around the time that I naturally had that thought, I'm like, this doesn't seem like Tubbs at all. Then there was other people talking and
Yeah.
Edward James almost takes a phone call from him or what have you. I thought it was rather good. I rather liked it, especially because, and this is going to be a bad parallel, and because Tom is the host of Daily Tech News Show, he's going to explain to me why I was wrong to have this thing tickled in my head. But for some reason, the entire conceit of this episode is the problem that everything is computerized and everyone from the janitor to the jailer to the judge can access all of these records. And for some reason, I thought blockchain. And I know that blockchain, is that a weird thing to think of in that moment?
I don't know. Why did you think blockchain?
Because everything is public and everything is scrutinizable. And this is what, like the whole purpose of going
that's
undercover is to
Yeah.
deceive. And now their problem is that there is a public blockchain that makes it possible for anybody at any level in the organization to rat out what they're up to, which is why they had to do this whole thing with Tubbs.
Right. I would say that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. It makes perfect sense. I would say it would be a really bad idea to put like that kind of secret information on a public blockchain. Almost as bad as having no password protection on your warrant system.
I mean,
Is that just that's just a factor of the times, right? Like the early computing
I think it's
system.
a factor of the storytelling sophistication of the time, because you could easily like show that Annette Bening's character was the only person authorized and she'd been compromised, which I think is what you're supposed to believe, right? You're supposed to believe she's the insider who can get that information. But it did seem like anybody could just walk up to that terminal and look something up anytime they wanted.
Yeah, and I definitely read it as she was either in love with this guy or had been pressured or whatever. And
They could have told the story without computers, I guess is what I'm saying. She could have just had access to the locked filing cabinet and it would have worked just as well.
But it was cool seeing it. Like, I thought they did a good job of being like, the computer screen, hey, people will be thinking.
They used a real computer screen. They didn't fake something up, so I'll give them that, yeah.
I also liked the fact that there's the collateral damage. So what we have is a problem where within the police department, anybody can know what a vice squad is up to.
The Justice Department.
Right, Justice Department. And the solution that they come up with is to avoid the computer system. The collateral damage of that was that in executing this executing this plan, they tricked Lou Diamond Phillips into believing that Tubbs was in on it, and then Lou Diamond Phillips, whoopsie doodle, becomes collateral damage of this. I don't know. Like, increasingly, the more I think of Miami Vice as a play and not as a realistic depiction of anything, the more I'm able to tolerate like people being gunshot, clearly having no blood all over them, and then flopping into the water. But
or Switek going into a situation where you're like, wait, that they shot at Switek. They wouldn't have let him go in if they knew that. But he had a bulletproof vest on. I'm like, what about his head?
Don't get shot in the head. Don't get shot in the head. Duck.
I think that was not Switek. I think that was somebody else. But yeah, they
maybe it wasn't Switek.
It was
whoever it was,
somebody blonde. Yeah,
right. It was like, wait a minute, they just sent that guy in without any head protection. He could have totally got a headshot and died, knowing he was going to get shot at by the gun that they had gone in and rigged.
Well, at that point, I'm willing to believe, like, if you go through the effort of unloading an auto shotgun,
that's right.
Then you would probably aim it
like,
to.
Those were just blanks, and they still hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
I liked Tubbs's rage. I thought he played it really well. You believe I
believed it longer than I should have.
I assumed it was real for a very good amount of time. Like at some point, like he actually was upset about this, and then there was because I mean they make a very good argument for it. Hey, we got someone looking at us. These are all death traps now. The entire department is a death trap until we solve this.
And
I'm
also,
out of here. I'm going back to New York.
Right. The credible fact that he was like, I didn't have to deal with none of this nonsense in New York.
Yeah.
You know, the place that we've announced for 3 seasons that I'm from. I could go back there, and it's like, yeah, no, I would. I'm not sure why you need money from a credit union and are throwing bar stools around. But
I want all my money now.
I do want to give a mega shouts out to the best worst scene, which is the opening one. You got 2 guys playing football, cleared off, blocked off street, and there is a good. This is like a elementary level lesson in production. It begins with a crane shot panning down, and it's an unbroken shot as whoever's on the crane gets off wearing a Steadicam rig. Also, at the same time, Don Johnson pulls up in the Testarossa, hits his mark, parking the car, hops out of the car, chats with Tubbs. They go walking. They meet other guys. Footballs are thrown. Then they do a do-si-do where the camera flips from over the shoulder or sideways to being in front of them on a walk and talk. They make it a minute and 50 seconds before they actually have to cut and then show something else, which that's a lot of moving parts. And everybody hits their mark respectably. The only bummer is the opening line is 5:15 a.m. This is crazy, he says, with his face dripping with sweat and the sun clearly directly overhead.
Well, the sun comes up early that time of year.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the sunny state.
It gets all the way straight up above them.
Well, and also rewatching that scene, I think that there's a lot you can smooth over with dubbing because, watching it in standard definition, they are very far away from the camera.
Yeah.
If someone flubs a line, as long as it looks right, like they're.
In fact, they may have had to dub it to get good audio, to be honest.
Because there's a cut in there where they cut away from that shot to a pretty long shot, and then they go back to that same angle. So it makes me think there's probably a lot of flexing and tweaking you can do with something like that.
Yeah, those shows regularly did ADR anyway. That's a really good point.
It would have to be for something like
everything
that.
was ADR'd. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Magic in the chat is pointing out that he says that they didn't have Steadicam back then. Fun fact, Steadicam was invented and first used with The Shining, which would have been, I believe, 1975 to 76 or so. So it definitely existed at
Probably
that
pricey.
If
but
it was
they
wide,
existed. Yeah.
because I could have seen where you probably would have just done a big crane for this whole shot.
No, you couldn't because I mean, again, they get. I don't know. I'll watch it again.
Yeah, I might have to see because I think you can get them. Well, I wasn't paying attention, but
After
it seemed
you
wide.
pointed it out to me, I rewatched
it made
it.
such an impression on me that I went back and I rewatched the first 2 minutes and noted how long they were able to get everything, give or take, perfect.
Sure.
Yeah, and they go to a 2-shot and then come back, and they continue that same shot afterwards for a little bit before they go into the building. The one of the most impressive bits was when Lou Diamond Phillips throws football in the car.
Yeah, and he catches it and
he does that split, right?
Oh, that's right. And then he says, "Am I good or am I good?" And so there's here's the other thing is when you do a play night after night after night, then you're able to rehearse everything so automatically that there's no semantic crutches. Every line delivered perfectly. In television, I don't know, you get a few days to practice your lines and practice a scene. This is a 2-minute unbroken dialogue of 4 characters. And at this point, like I'm dissecting and I'm like, I heard one and one and that's it. And everything else was flawless. It's really a remarkable little scene.
That piece where Lou Diamond Phillips is delivering a line, opens the car door, throws the football in, closes the car door, catches back up, and none of that messes anyone else up was one of the most impressive things in the whole bit.
That's the moment where they do the do-si-do, where the camera goes from side view to face on walk and talk. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, yeah,
it was good. It was good.
It was a good one.
For a Tub-centric episode, this is the best one so far.
All right. So that is Miami Vice season 3, episode 19, Red Tape. We're going to stay in order for next week. Miami Vice 320, by Hooker, by Crook. So Hooker and Crook, but playing off anyway, by Hooker, by Crook, with guest star Melanie Griffith. You might know her from movies with Melanie Griffith.
Quick shout out, if you haven't seen it, look up the story of the movie Roar, R-O-A-R. In an age where during the pandemic we became fascinated with Tiger King, Roar was a movie with like 35 tigers in it, one of whom mauled the face of Melanie Griffith. It's extraordinary.
By Hooker, by Crook, Melanie Griffith. Also the White Lotus season 2, episode 3, and 2521, season 1, episode 2.
Wait, she's married to Don Johnson?
Melanie Griffith is?
Yeah, I guess, according to the chat.
Oh, all right.
TIL.
There you go. Well, did they meet on episode through 20? Does anybody know that? Anyway, we will be back with those 3 shows to talk about on Spoilerin Time next time. You get these episodes early if you are a patron, patreon.com/cordkillers. Until then, spoil yourselves. You deserve it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.